Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to Study Capital YouTube platform. This is Atul Mishra. I'm a mentor for CUET PG 2026 exam, GATE examination as well as UGC NET for English. And as I have already prepared one video regarding the exam paper, the kind of questions that they ask in your exam and the things that you can read around them. I will be talking about two questions that were asked in your exam, last exam that happened, CUET, and how it is, what kind of question it is, from which unit it is asked, because there's ambiguity around it, and what other things that you can actually refer to while preparing for your examination. So welcome you all. I hope you will join it. I hope you will watch the video till last. I will be asking few questions as well. I will be suggesting you certain content that you can explore on your own as well for preparing for CUET PG 2026 exam. So be with me here and I will be discussing few things. As you can see on your screen, there is one question which says, what is parapraxis also known as? Screen memory, defense mechanism, Freudian slip, transference. The next question that I would like to show you, it says, arrange the following stages in the order that reflects Freud's argument about the uncanny. Now, both of these questions, one is uncanny from Sigmund Freud, and this is parapraxis or Freudian slip. Both are part of what you say psychoanalysis, right? Now, if you look at the criticism and theory syllabus, part of the syllabus, it says classical and modern criticism, Marxism, structuralism, post-structuralism, feminism, eco-criticism, and post-colonialism. There is no mention of psychoanalysis here. And both of these questions came in 2024 exam. Both of them are from psychoanalysis. That means when you look at these first term here, classical and modern criticism, you have to expand it. It doesn't simply means classical criticism actually carries from Plato to T.S. Eliot. There's a chain of writers, right? First you read Plato, then you read Aristotle, then you read Longinus, Horace, some of the medieval critics, Sidney, then you have Dryden, right? Samuel Johnson, some of the critical notions of the romantic writers like Wordsworth, his theory of poetic diction, Coleridge through his Biographia Literaria, Keats through his egotistical sublime negative capability, Shelley through his defense of poetry, right? Thomas Love Peacock through his Four Ages of Poetry, Matthew Arnold, some of the works that he has written along with a study of poetry, T.S. Eliot, so many texts, Tradition and Individual Talent, Hamlet and His Problem, the Sacred Wood book itself, where you have collection of famous essays which can be a part of criticism, I.A. Richards, F.R. Lewis, The Great Tradition. This is a part of a classical criticism. Modern criticism is one such unit which is not yet explained enough on YouTube as I can see in respect to CUET PG. Now there are certain units, there are certain criticism isms particularly that can be read separately as well as along with other units, such as you have feminism. Feminism is a social movement. Feminist literary criticism is what you read in your syllabus as an English literature student. Feminism as a movement, when I use this word feminism, it is a social movement. You have first wave, second wave, third wave, and fourth wave. Second wave is a little bit theoretical in its approach, where you have French critics and especially Anglo-American critics who started writing text, and that is how you have a very theoretical model coming into existence. But it is a social model, right? So you have to read feminist literary criticism alongside with it. People like Toril Moi, Kate Millett, in order to understand what is feminist literary criticism. The type of this is a unit from where they ask multiple questions. Same, there is a mention of Marxism. So Marxism, like feminism, is a social movement, but there is Marxist literary criticism, which is important for us. And then along with Marxism, the new development, the modern development of Marxism, I would say 1980s, you have new historicism, which is not directly mentioned here, but it is a part of your syllabus. Similarly, you see there is a structuralism and post-structuralism mentioned here. There is Marxism mentioned here. So from Marxism, there are some people after the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, they shifted to France. Some of them shifted to America, developed British new criticism, and then American new criticism came into existence, which you read alongside structuralism as well. If you read any book, be it by P.K. Nair or by one that is by Peter Barry, Beginning Theory, you'll realize that especially in P.K. Nair's book, he starts from structuralism, and then the book takes you to new criticism and formalism and then new criticism. That means they are interrelated with each other. So even though it is not a part of your syllabus, the modern criticism, the text, interpretation of dreams, published exactly in 1900 with the beginning of 20th century, and that's how modern new criticism comes into existence. That means it is a part of your syllabus. These questions are not when it 2024 when it happened, a lot of people, they were saying that this is a part of, it's not a part of a syllabus, बहुत random question आ गया, पर ऐसा नहीं है, it is a part of your syllabus. Now I'll be explaining these questions and I'll tell you other things that you can explore through this MCQ. Okay, so now Freudian slip is a very famous idea which is also termed as parapraxis. There's a modern criticism which is psychoanalytic criticism. Again, psychoanalysis is a different unit. Psychoanalytic literary criticism or simply criticism is what we read, Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, Lacan and others. And parapraxis, or what we call Freudian slip, is simply known as unintended error in speech, memory or action that reveals unconscious thought. I'll take this argument further. Look at this question. This is a question about Freud again, and the idea of uncanny, right? That feeling, right? I should not say this, but if someone died in the family, you don't know how to explain that issue, how to explain that pain. You're feeling it because there's one very important part of your life whom you meet every day, you see them every day, and all of a sudden he or she is gone. That feeling is what Freud characterized as uncanny. Right, so it's a very famous thing. Kristeva also, Julia Kristeva, you might have heard of term called intertextuality. She also developed it further. There are certain diasporic writers who have used this theme of uncanny in their writing. I'll not take you there, but that means it's a very interesting idea, right? But interesting in the sense that it is a very dominant idea in the psychoanalytical framework of Sigmund Freud. But to ask question in this depth, in this detail, that there are certain ways, there are certain, what you say, steps to this feeling, and they have asked you to arrange them in chronological order. The first says unconscious repetition of repressed childhood experiences, recognition of something familiar yet foreign, encounter with a double or doppelganger, and then manifestation of repressed infantile fears and taboos. Now, these are steps that happens. Now, when you look at these two questions, you realize that it gives the syllabus that is given to you. It gives broad headings, but does not spell out every sub-units clearly, and that is visible when you look at the unit as well. Jaise feminism is a social movement. Feminist literary criticism is what we read as a literature student, and that also extends to the ideas of queer studies and gender studies, such as if you have to read, for example, Judith Butler or Adrienne Rich, which from where they have asked questions multiple times from 2021 when they started CUET itself 22. So that means they're asking questions from queer studies, narratives, literature as well as theory. They're asking questions from gender studies as well, which is an extension of feminism and directly doesn't spell out in your syllabus. So there is a structuralism, but structuralism, post-structuralism leads you to new historicism, reader response, postmodernism, deconstruction and many other units, which is again not directly spells out in your syllabus. That doesn't mean that you can ignore them. You'll have to read them as well, right? So the question that was asked, it is from psychoanalytical criticism. So for this video, I will be explaining some of the other terms that can be a part of your question, right? Because psychoanalytical criticism itself is a very big, unit altogether. There is Freud, there is Carl Jung, and there's the second wave of psychoanalysis which goes with postmodernism, where we have Lacan working in 1960s, mirror stage and many other terms that he coined, alter ego, misrecognition. You might have heard these phrases. If not, that means there is a lot that you have to prepare, right? So I will just introduce you with certain terms and some other units that you can read alongside this question, so that you know that there are many other things that you have to read as well, right? Now I'll take you to the first question. The question was about parapraxis, which is also termed as termed as Freudian slip. So if you know Sigmund Freud, right, there is an essay written by Trilling. Trilling talks about Sigmund Freud and says Sigmund Freud was not the one who discovered unconscious. Unconscious was already there. A lot of writings, literature talks about how people are behaving, doing certain things, taking decisions unconsciously. They have no idea. So it was already there. It was existing. But Freud was the one who started scientific study of psychoanalysis. Right? He was looking his patients, analyzing his dreams. So he used unconscious and he did a scientific study for the very first time. That is how psychoanalysis came into existence, right? So he was the one who started it, and now you have multiple terms coined by him and then many other things. Now look at this photograph. It says a Freudian slip is when you say one thing but mean your mother. Right, obviously when you say one thing, it takes you to but mean another, right? But instead of saying another, it says mother. And it is also very funny because when you look at it in context of Freud, Oedipus complex, it's a dark humor, right? So he wanted to say another, but he said mother. This is a Freudian slip, which is also termed as parapraxis, slip of the tongue, memory. Your memory reveals your unconscious, right? There's a lot that it can offer, but obviously it is a short video. I will not explain it in detail. There are some other terms as well, which are basic terms in psychoanalytical. You'll not find them explained in other books because these are the general jargons that are used in psychoanalytic framework, such as transference. When you shift your emotion from one person to another, what happens when people are under therapy? They shift certain emotions to the doctor. So from patient it turns out to an analysis where you transfer your emotion from one person to another. There is a screen memory. They have once asked this question as well. When there is a childhood there's a childhood trauma, what happens? Your childhood memory is distorted to hide the deeper trauma that exists. You remember some part of what happened in the past, a beautiful memory, but you'll forget the traumatic one. So the memory that you have forgotten, the one that you remember works as a screen memory to distort the traumatic experience, right? There is defense mechanism, right? Freud came up with it, then his doctor actually developed it, where there are certain terms: repression, denial, projection, sublimation. There is a three mind theory as well: conscious, unconscious, and subconscious, which is further divided by explained by Freud as id, ego, superego, which is the Freud's model of psyche. I hope you remember it. Pata hoga aapko, nahi pata hai, so we will be talking about it later. I just want to explain certain things to you. Then there is a concept of Oedipus complex, which is further when Freud talks about Oedipus complex, the other side of it. I hope you know what is Oedipus complex. A male child having feelings for his mother. That is not exactly what Oedipus complex is. It is very complex, but in general this is how we understand it, right? Freud, for the opposite of it, a girl child having feelings for her father, Freud called it as a negative complex, but Carl Jung later called it as Electra complex. So they are same thing. Negative complex or Electra complex, they are same things, right? Then there is dream interpretation whole theory that Freud developed beyond it. Now, as I mentioned about the parapraxis, there is a book, The Interpretation of Dream, which was published exactly in 1900, as I mentioned. And look at this term in detail. A parapraxis occurs when an individual accidentally says or writes or does something unintended. Remember, you do something, you say something, or you write something, you don't want to do it, but you did it in unintended way. But the mistake is not random. It is not random. There is something deeper in it. According to Sigmund Freud, it provides a window into repressed wishes, hidden motives, or unresolved conflicts which are there in your unconscious mind. So these things which happen, आप कुछ और बोलना चाहते थे, कुछ और बोल दिए, slip of the tongue हो गया, कुछ आप और लिखना चाह रहे थे, कुछ और लिख गया, किसी का नाम आप भूल गए, कुछ और किसी को किसी और नाम से बुला लिए. ये random नहीं है. According to Sigmund Freud, there is something deeper in your unconscious mind which is revealed through these mistakes, right? So there's a lot that goes inside it. There can be multiple types of it. Verbal हो सकता है, आप कुछ और बोलना चाह रहे थे, कुछ और बोल दिए. And then you can also think of other terms as well. Malapropism, spoonerism, right? अगर आपने 18th century का literature पढ़ा है तो ये दो phrases पढ़े होंगे जो कि linguistic error है, ना कि स्लिप ऑफ द टंग है, अनकॉन्शियसली कुछ नहीं होता है, वो डेलिबरेटली भी किए जाते हैं और लिंग्विस्टिक एरर भी होता है. स्पूनरिज्म एंड मालाप्रोपिज्म, दादा दरोवर एक टेक्स्ट है, इसमें से वो कॉइन हुआ था टर्म, शेरिडन ने किया था, बहुत फेमस है लिटरेचर के अगर है तो आपको जरूर पढ़ना चाहिए, क्योंकि वो लिंग्विस्टिक एरर है, ये जो है अनकॉन्शियस रिवीलिंग है. ठीक है. सो यस, वर्बल स्लिप हो सकता है, आप कुछ किसी का नाम भूल गए, किसी का अपॉइंटमेंट भूल गए, या आप कुछ और करना चाहते थे, कुछ और आपने कर दिया. तो फ्रॉइड कहते हैं कि ये सारी चीजें एक्सीडेंट नहीं है, ये अनकॉन्शियस डिजायर का मैनिफेस्टेशन है, या सप्रेस थॉट का जो कि मैनिफेस्टेशन है, जो कि कॉन्शियस कंट्रोल से बाहर निकलता है. इट स्पेल्स आउट आउटसाइड एंड इट्स काइंड ऑफ अ विंडो to your unconscious mind. So it's a very interesting term. There are multiple examples that Freud also gives, but I don't want to explain it in detail. You can do that later. I'm just trying to explain it to you. Now, as I mentioned, there are two terms, malapropism and spoonerism, that comes to my mind the moment I think about this kind of a mistake, because if you're a literature student, you'll find it it is a kind of a thing that occurs to in many of the text. अगर आपने पढ़ा हो लेडी मैकबेथ, तो जब स्लीप वॉकिंग सीन होता है तो वो बार बार बोलती रहती है आउट डैम स्पॉट, आउट डैम स्पॉट. सो ये एक स्लिप ऑफ एक्शन वहां पे भी हो रहा है, जहां पे उसके मन में एक गिल्ट है. If you have read the text, you might be knowing in that scene, how she actually propelled Macbeth to take action. Macbeth killed King Duncan, and after that the trauma begins, and Lady Macbeth shows her guilt through the sleepwalking scene. There it happens, right? So it's a very interesting unconscious revealing. जॉयस में, ओलिसेस में भी यही होता है. अगर आपने पढ़ा हो, बिगनिंग ही बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है, वहां पे भी ऐसा अनकॉन्शियस रिवील होता है. लेकिन जब आप मालाप्रोपिज्म और स्पूनरिज्म जैसे टर्म सुनते हो विच आर लिंग्विस्टिक एरर्स, वहां पे क्या होता है? फॉर एग्जांपल मालाप्रोपिज्म में आप एक वर्ड यूज करते हो जो कि सिमिलर साउंडिंग होता है किसी एक दूसरे वर्ड के प्लेस पे. जैसे अगर आपको ये बहुत फेमस एग्जांपल है, ही इज द पाइनएप्पल ऑफ पोलाइटनेस. आप पिनिकल ऑफ पोलाइटनेस बोलना चाहते थे, विच इज अ फ्रेज ऑब्वियसली इडियम, बट पिनिकल की जगह आपने पाइनएप्पल बोल दिया. दिस इज अ वेरी सिमिलर साउंडिंग वर्ड और आपने उसको यूज कर लिया ह्यूमरस. अब ये स्टेटमेंट भी आपको ह्यूमरस लग रहा है. तो ये एक तरीके का वोकैबुलरी बेस्ड लिंग्विस्टिक बेस्ड एरर है. जरूरी नहीं है कि ये अनकॉन्शियस का रिवीलिंग हो. इट्स जस्ट अ मिस्टेक और इट इज जस्ट अ मिसयूज ऑफ वर्ड दैट हैपेंड. दिस इज मालाप्रोपिज्म. सिमिलरली अगर वर्ड की जगह पे साउंड का इफेक्ट चेंज हो रहा है, दैट इज स्पूनरिज्म फॉर यू, राइट? तो इनिशियल साउंड या लेटर्स जो होते हैं वो जो है स्वैप हो जाते हैं, उसी को हम क्या बोलते हैं? स्पूनरिज्म बोलते हैं. जैसे आप कहो यू हैव हिस्ड ऑल माय मिस्ट्री लेक्चर्स, instead of saying you have missed all my history lectures. So history की जगह mystery हो गया. That is a sound change, minor letter change, that is spoonerism. ये एक फोनेटिक एरर है. जैसे ये वोकैबुलरी लिंग्विस्टिक एरर है, स्पूनरिज्म एक फोनेटिक साउंड से रिलेटेड एरर है जो हो सकती है, कभी कभी एक्सीडेंटल होती है, कभी कभी डेलिबरेटली फनी बनाने के लिए यूज होती है, और हो सकता है कि अनकॉन्शियस थॉट को भी रिवील कर रही हो. अब देखो ये साइकोलॉजिकली मीनिंगफुल है, बट मालाप्रोपिज्म और स्पूनरिज्म लिंग्विस्टिक और फोनेटिक एरर है, जहां पे बहुत अनकॉन्शियस जरूरी नहीं है कि रिवील हो रहा हो. सो दीज आर टू सेपरेट concepts that are used here. This is Sheridan, by the way, the one who coined the term malapropism. It was asked in your exam multiple times as well. Now coming back to what we were discussing, let's think about this term uncanny for a moment, and try to, if you have read the text Frankenstein by Mary Wollstonecraft, then try to imagine the situation that I am suggesting you. So what happens? Uncanny basically is a German term which means unhomely or unfamiliar, या जो eerie feeling होती है, right, which is very troubling as well. So एक unsettling feeling जब जो कि बहुत strangely familiar भी हो और disturbing भी हो, foreign भी हो at the same time, right? The example that I gave in the beginning. फ्राइड ने क्या बोला कि जब uncanny arise होता है, when something that should have remained hidden, that should have remained secret or repressed, comes back into awareness. So there is one thing that you have repressed in your life and you don't want to tackle with it, you don't want to deal with it, but it is now again revealing. So that feeling when it comes to surface, you don't want to deal with it, but it is there and you'll have to deal with it. That feeling is what Freud defines as uncanny. Okay, now there are key elements to it. As you can see, the definition defines that there is going to be a return of the repressed, right? So there are a lot of things that we repress in our life, especially it starts from childhood itself. So there are childhood memories which we have repressed, right? So there is a return of the repressed. That means the forbidden desires, the fears that you have, the childhood fears that you have developed and you have repressed them, they will come to the surface again. There will be a return of the repressed. And then the second word, which is obviously very, very important, the double. That means the mirror image will come, the shadow self will come. If you remember the Frankenstein, the self that is created by the main character of the text, I hope you'll understand the example here. And then there is something which is very familiar, but at the same time it is also very strange. जैसे डॉल फिगर जो होता है, जो वैक्स फिगर होते हैं, तो ये जो वैक्स फिगर होते हैं फेमिलियर तो होते हैं, राइट? क्योंकि कोई लगेगा कि कुछ है, कुछ देखा हुआ लग रहा है, चेहरा दिख रहा है. बट एट द सेम टाइम दे आर आल्सो यू नो वेरी स्ट्रेंज एज वेल. अगर आपने हॉफमैन का सैंडमैन देखा है, पढ़ा है या उसका एडेप्टेशन देखा है, तो आप बहुत आसानी से इसको समझ पाएंगे. फ्रॉइड ने भी सैंडमैन का एग्जांपल लेके बहुत बार डिफाइन किया है. क्यों? क्योंकि आप स्टोरी पढ़ोगे तब तो एक कैरेक्टर है नेथेनियल का देयर, हु इज टेरिफाइड ऑफ द सैंडमैन who steals children's eyes in the text, right? And then he falls in love with a character called Olympia and she turns out to be a lifelike automotion. एक डॉल होती है जिससे उसको प्यार हो जाता है. बहुत स्ट्रेंज और अनकैनी आपको वहां पे फील होगा, राइट? Actually, uncanny के बारे में Jansek was the one who talked about it in the beginning, and then there are a lot of people who actually defined it in different ways. ऐसे एक feeling है कि इंटेलेक्चुअली यू आर फीलिंग अनसर्टेन, कि आपको नहीं पता है कि समथिंग इज अलाइव और डेड, इट इज ह्यूमन और नॉट, यू डोंट नो दीज थिंग्स. दैट इज ऑल्सो अ टाइप ऑफ एन अनकैनिंग. जैसे आपने एक रोबोट देखा, एक वैक्स फिगर देखा, कॉर्प्स देखा, और आप श्योर नहीं है इफ इट विल मूव और नॉट. दैट फीलिंग दैट अराउजेस फ्रॉम देयर इज व्हाट ही कॉल्स अनकैनी. लाका और इसको मिरर स्टेज से लिंक करते हैं, क्रिस्टीवा उसको एब्जेक्ट से लिंक करते हैं. दैट इज समथिंग दैट यू कैन लीड. बहुत सारे आइडियाज होंगे, बट देयर इज अ ऑर्डर ऑफ द अनकैनी. अगर आपने मेटामॉर्फोसिस पढ़ा, पर्सन टर्न इनटू एन इंसेक्ट, and also everyone is okay with it, no one is complaining about what happened here, very absurd, but that is also comes with an order of an uncanny. So what happens? It starts from when you recognize of something familiar yet foreign. That is the first step. What happens when just a second, it's not a first step actually. Yes, so the uncanny arises when something familiar or homely suddenly feels strange. This is the first step, कि कुछ बहुत ऐसा जो है जो बहुत फेमिलियर है और एकदम से क्या हो जाता है, स्ट्रेंज हो जाता है, बहुत थ्रेटनिंग वे में आपको लगता है. जैसे पहला स्पार्क है अनकैनीनेस का, when you recognize something close to you but you feel a disturbing strangeness. You know it is there, you know that you know it, but it is also strange at the same time. जैसे आप अपने पुराने चाइल्डहुड के घर में चले जाओ तो फेमिलियर है लेकिन कुछ ऑफ लगेगा. इफ यू आर लिविंग एट वन प्लेस for some time, and if you are a PG student or you are living in your home, you'll realize when you are when you are studying in different universities, you are out for 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 4 or 5 years, like me if I'm doing my PhD. So it's been 7 or 8 years since I'm living outside my home. So when I go back to my home, it is very familiar to me because it is my home, but at the same time I also feel very strange because always there is something new to find out, or there is a new kind of a feeling when I look at the same thing, right? So this is how it starts. You recognize something familiar but also very foreign, and then that happens, unconscious repetition of the repressed childhood experience. That means that eerie feeling that you feel when something familiar becomes a foreign thing for you, that feeling connects you to memories or fears from childhood that once we have repressed. जैसे repeating patterns, एक feeling जो हमने childhood में कभी repress कर दी थी, because of this eerie feeling वो repeat होती है, वो वापस से आ जाती है, right? So repeating patterns होंगे, ऐसे experiences होंगे जो unconscious fears हमारे मन में थे वो वापस से आ जाएंगे. Return of the repressed, यानी कि as a child, for example, you fear dolls moving, right? बचपन में होता है, we all fear certain dolls, right? कि अगर ये move करने लगा या कुछ होने लगा, बचपन में बच्चों को बहुत ऐसे चढ़ाया भी जाता है, right? So if that happens, that was a thing that you have obviously repressed in childhood. So years later कोई एक hyper realistic doll आप as an adult देख रहे हैं, आपकी unconscious को तुरंत याद आएगा कि okay, I felt that kind, this eeriness, this feeling I have already once explored. जैसे trial में होता है, आप उस टेक्स्ट के अंदर देखोगे कि बहुत सारे अनकैनी फेमिलियर स्ट्रेंज जो चीजें हैं फील होती रहती हैं। फिर अगला स्टेप क्या है उसका, अगला स्टेप है कि मैनिफेस्टेशन ऑफ रिप्रेस्ड इन्फेंटाइल फियर्स एंड टैबू। दैट मींस देयर इज अ रिकॉग्निशन दैट हैपेंड एंड देयर वाज अ रिपीटिशन दैट हैपेंड एंड नाउ इट विल ट्रिगर द टैबू फियर्स दैट एग्जिस्ट इनसाइड यू। जैसे कास्ट्रेशन का जो फ्राइड आइडिया बताते हैं, जैसे एक देयर इज अ envy for girls and there is a castration anxiety in men. If you have read psychoanalysis you might be knowing that. So वो चीज का feeling, या there is someone who is always watching me, right? What Freud what to say, people like Foucault will say, you know, big brother watching you kind of examples, panopticanism. So that fear or fear of forbidden desires, you know, incest, death, maternal body that you have repressed somewhere is now manifested, so that will be there. So आपके कॉन्शियस एक्सपीरियंस में वो आने लगेंगे। जैसे हाँ सैंडमैन में भी देखोगे वो अपनी खुद की नेचुरल फियर ऑफ लूजिंग हिज ओन आईज, उसको बचपन का फियर याद आता है जो कि कास्ट्रेशन एंजाइटी से डायरेक्ट लिंक कर दिया गया है सैंडमैन के अंदर। बहुत अच्छा है। और फिर आप अपने डबल से एनकाउंटर करते हैं एक अल्टीमेटली लास्ट मोमेंट ऑफ अनकैनी, जब व्हेन यू मीट योर डबल एक मिरर इमेज बनती है, आप अल्टर ईगो फ्रेम करते हैं और रिटर्न ऑफ द रिप्रेस्ड हो जाता है। जैसे विलियम विल्सन को पढ़ेंगे अगर पो में, तो नरेटर एक अपने सिमिलर लाइक कैरेक्टर से मिलता है और उसका जो गिल्ट कॉन्शियस है वो दिखता है। फाइट क्लब में भी होता है। तो वो लास्ट स्टेप होता है आपका अनकैनी का। ऐसे बहुत से टर्म्स हैं जो साइकोएनालिसिस में यूज होते हैं। देयर इज अ टर्म व्हिच इज नोन एज ट्रांसफरेंस, मींस एक अनकॉन्शियस रीडायरेक्शन ऑफ फीलिंग, रीडायरेक्शन ऑफ डिजायर्स फ्रॉम वन पर्सन टू another, right? That means कि एक इंसान जो आपकी लाइफ में है आप उसको कुछ नहीं बोल सकते। You have your parents, your caregivers, your siblings and you can't say certain things to them, but now when you're talking to a therapist you can actually spell out that feeling, you can transfer that feeling to you, to someone who is strange to you, who is a therapist to you, right? जैसे कि sometimes what happens, there are few things in your mind which you don't know, you know, that they exist in your mind. Just a second. And that is why people take therapies as well. So you realize lately that this might happen to you as well. There is few things that you cannot tell to your parents, they're unconsciously in your mind and you react in different ways to some people which are close to you, not close to you, doesn't matter, but it is happening because there is a transference of feeling taking place. So what happens, patients in Freud's argument, they begin to experience the therapist as if they were their father, their mother or any other figure. So they have transfer their feeling from one person to another. It can be a positive feeling as well, right? They might feel admiration or dependence towards their therapist, or they might feel negative. It can also come with a negativity because you can't show your anger, resentment to your father. So there are some patients who started explaining it to to their parents, to their what to say, therapist. तो अलग अलग तरीके से एक्सप्लेन किया और इसको बहुत लिटरेचर में भी यूज किया जाता है। ऐसे ही देयर आर टाइप्स ऑफ ट्रांसफरेंस। आई हैव गिवन यू एन एग्जांपल। इफ यू टेक्स्ट मी ऑन व्हाट्सएप आई विल शेयर दिस पीपीटी एज वेल। यू कैन अच्छे तरीके से पॉजिटिव ट्रांसफरेंस क्या है, नेगेटिव ट्रांसफरेंस क्या है, उसके बारे में आप पढ़ सकते हैं। स्क्रीन मेमोरी क्या होती है, अगर आप पोर्ट्रेट ऑफ एन आर्टिस्ट एज अ यंग मैन पढ़ेंगे, जो फर्स्ट पार्ट है, इट्स अ वेरी गुड एग्जांपल, द फर्स्ट फ्यू लाइंस आर वेरी गुड एग्जांपल ऑफ साइको एनालिसिस। और इस टेक्स्ट के अंदर स्क्रीन मेमोरी का भी बहुत अच्छा एग्जांपल है। फ्रॉइड ने इंट्रोड्यूस किया है कि एक चाइल्डहुड मेमोरी जो कि दैट इज विविडली रिकॉल्ड बट इनसिग्निफिकेंट इन कंटेंट, एक स्क्रीन की तरह वर्क करती है, कवर अप करती है आपके जो डिस्टर्बिंग मेमोरीज होती हैं उसको। जैसे कोई हार्मलेस मेमोरी है, सो दैट इज रिटेन, you remember things, but the painful or unacceptable memory is hidden behind it. जैसे for example, I'll give you example. कभी ऐसा हुआ हो you went into बचपन में you were in a park, something very dangerous happened there. Now as an adult you don't remember what exactly happened, the traumatic memory, but you remember the good things that happened that day. You talked to your parents, they decided that yes, let's go to the park, right? So you remember that feeling, you were very happy, right? And then you went to the park, you did some, you were walking there, you were laughing, you remember these things, but you don't remember that that dangerous event that happened that day. So this happens because there is this kind of a memory, the happy memory, which works as a screen between the dangerous memory, and you remember only the harmless memory. That is screen memory. और बहुत सारे टेक्स्ट के अंदर भी इसको एक्सप्लोर किया गया है, कॉन्शियसली वी डोंट हैव टाइम टू डिस्कस इन डिटेल। ऐसे ही डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म होता है कि कैसे आप जो प्रॉब्लम्स है उसको कैसे डिस्टॉर्ट आप ईगो कैसे इड और सुपर ईगो के बीच में बैलेंसिंग करता है। इट हैपेंस बिकॉज ऑफ द डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म। बहुत तरीके हैं, आप चीजों को रिप्रेस करते हैं, डिनाई करते हैं, प्रोजेक्ट कर देते हैं एक अनएक्सेप्टेबल फीलिंग को दूसरे के ऊपर, राइट, डिस्प्लेस कर देते हैं आप इमोशन को सेफर वन पे। तो आप एग्जांपल, आप अपने बॉस पे गुस्सा है, आप बॉस पे कुछ नहीं कर सकते, तो आप बॉस की जगह घर में आके अपने बच्चे पे चिल्ला देते हो, दैट इज डिस्प्लेसमेंट। देयर इज रिग्रेशन एज वेल, देयर इज sublimation as well, there is rationalization, there are multiple terms which Freud talked about, coined, reaction formation, identification, undoing, ये सब तरीके हैं जिसकी वजह से एक तरीके का डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म वर्क करता है हमारे साइकोनाटिकल फ्रेमवर्क में। Then this is also very famous idea of id, ego and super ego। फ्रॉइड ने डेवलप किया कि माइंड के 3 पार्ट है, id, ego और सुपर ईगो। इड बहुत प्रिमिटिव है, बहुत इंस्टिंक्ट पे वर्क करता है, लुक एट दिस पिक्चर, और ये शायद बहुत अच्छे तरीके से एक्सप्लेन भी कर रहा होगा पूरा आइडिया को। तो इड में वो जो एंगर वाला पार्ट है कि यू डोंट नो, यू नीड दिस एज अ चाइल्ड यू विल सी इफ देयर आर चाइल्ड इन योर फैमिली, यू विल फाइंड दे नीड वन थिंग, they don't know, they don't care about other thing at all, they need this bottle in a moment, so they need it no matter इसके अंदर क्या है, ये problematic हो सकता है, चोट लग सकती है, doesn't matter। बहुत primitive है, बहुत instinct based है, चाहिए तो चाहिए। that part of our mind जो बद से रहता है, pleasure principle पे वर्क करता है कि हमको सीधे immediate gratification चाहिए। It can be in different parts, different ways, or you don't care about rationality at all, that is id for you। Meanwhile, the super ego works on moral part, जो कि 4 से 6 स्टेज ओरल स्टेज में फ्रॉइड डेवलप करते हैं। वहां पे आता है जहां पे आप बहुत इंटरनलाइज कर लेते हो रूल्स को, वैल्यूज को, आइडियाज को, और मोरल प्रिंसिपल से सोचने लगते हो। सो एक है जो मोरल प्रिंसिपल पे वर्क करता है, एक था इट जो कि इंस्टिंक्ट बेस्ड है, और उन दोनों के बीच में जो डेवलप करते हैं, जो बैलेंसिंग करते हैं, उसको ईगो बोलते हैं, रैशनल डिसीजन मेकिंग पार्ट ऑफ अवर माइंड। नाउ वी डोंट हैव टाइम, अदरवाइज आई माइट हैव एक्सप्लेन्ड इट इन प्राइड एंड प्रेजुडिस एज वेल। यू कैन स्टॉप हियर, you can take a screenshot of this PPT and you can read it as well। I have given multiple literary examples as well। Now remember, it is an instinct and desire based pleasure principle। जैसे हेथक्लिफ में है, उसको चाहिए थे तो वो कुछ भी करता है, उसका ऑब्सेसिव लव है फॉर कैथरीन, वुदरिंग हाइट्स, वन ऑफ द बेस्ट टेक्स्ट ऑफ द विक्टोरियन पीरियड। ईगो जो कि बैलेंसिंग का काम करता है, रियलिटी प्रिंसिपल, और सुपर ईगो जो कि मोरालिटी के ऊपर बेस्ड है। देन देयर इज ओडिपस कॉम्प्लेक्स। Oedipus complex turns into the opposite of it is Electra complex। Then there is penis envy in women, because they, when they realize that they are close to their mother and they don't have the male sexual organ, they develop what Freud calls penis envy। And in response to that, Karen Horney developed the idea of womb envy, that argument to the idea of Freud's envy, that men may unconsciously feel envy of the woman's ability to bear children and nurture life। I can talk about it in detail, I will be talking about it in the next class। I'm just explaining to you that these are the things that you can also defer to। Now because of the Oedipus complex, child develops a fear of castration anxiety, whereas girl develop the idea of penis envy, right? Then there are a lot of things, this is what I talked about in psychoanalysis, which is a part of modern criticism, but obviously there are many other things as well। When you read about psychoanalysis, for example, you'll enter into Carl Jung, and Carl Jung will develop the idea of collective unconscious, which will take you to archetypical criticism। So there's a writer, I might have mentioned here as well, Northrop Frye, they have asked 2 times questions from Anatomy of Criticism। Once they have asked about the writer, another time, because there's a linkage of certain seasons to literature by Northrop Frye, there is an argument about garrison mentality, Canada की landscape को लेके, which Northrop Frye develops। There are arguments which are based on archetypes, archetypal patterns in poetry, for example, Maud Bodkin, that is also very important text। So archetypal criticism is equally important that you can refer to। There is queer studies, Sedgwick का idea है gate closing का, जो कि lesbian studies पे आपको लेके जाएगा। बटलर का performativity का aspect है, राइट. एड्रियन रिच का लेस्बियन कॉन्टिन्यूम का कॉन्सेप्ट है, इन कंपल्सरी हेट्रोसेक्सुअलिटी का कॉन्सेप्ट है. So there are certain terms that you can refer to in queer studies as well. New historicism is very important. How new historicism is different from cultural materialism, Greenblatt की क्या theories है, Renaissance self fashioning क्या है, wonder क्या है, irony क्या है, जो Freud develop करते हैं Greenblatt there. There is reader response theory as well. तो आप न्यू क्रिटिसिज्म पढ़ते हो, फॉर्मलिज्म पढ़ते हो, जो फोकस करते हैं कि आपको आउटसाइड कॉन्टेक्स्ट को नहीं देखना है, सिर्फ टेक्स्ट को देखना है, फॉर्मल एलिमेंट्स को देखना है, मीटर, राइम, रिदम, इन सबको देखना है. पर जब रीडर किसी टेक्स्ट को पढ़ेगा तो हमारा हॉरिजन अलग होता है, हमारे स्पेसेस अलग है. आई एम एन इंडियन फॉर एग्जाम्पल, सो आई विल रीड सर्टेन इंस्टेंसेस फ्रॉम माई पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. आई एम सिटिंग हियर इन बनारस, सो आई हैव अ डिफरेंट हॉरिजन ऑफ एक्सपेक्टेशन. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैं अगर एक ब्राह्मण हूँ, हिंदू हूँ, एक मिडिल क्लास सोसाइटी से बिलोंग करता हूँ, तो मेरा एक्सपेक्टेशन एक इवेंट का, मेरा अंडरस्टैंडिंग कुछ और होगा, आपका कुछ और हो सकता है, डिफरेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से. सो व्हेन आई रीड अ टेक्स्ट, आई विल हैव अ डिफरेंट रीडिंग. व्हेन यू विल रीड इट, योर एक्सपीरियंस विल बी डिफरेंट. सो अ रीडर, व्हेन he reads a text, he is the one or she is the one who completes the meaning of a text. So you move beyond author, you also move beyond the structuralist notion, what you say, the stylistic notion of writing, कि केवल मीटर, स्टैंजा, फॉर्म को नहीं देखना है, रीडर की एक्सपीरियंस क्या है, how reader gives meaning and complete the text is also very important. Roland Barthes says a text when it is published at that moment should be considered as a death of an author and birth of a reader. So text is incomplete, a reader reads it and completes it. There are multiple types of reader response theories as well. Affective stylistics by Fish, right? Iser, there is what is a transactional theory of reader response theory. There are many other versions that you can develop. तो reader response theory भी बहुत important है. Implied author, implied reader, perfect reader, right? और बहुत से terms हैं जो आप रीडर रिस्पॉन्स थ्योरी के अंदर पढ़ते हैं, जो डायरेक्टली आपके एग्जाम में आ सकते हैं. तो वो एक अलग से यूनिट है जो मॉडर्न क्रिटिसिज्म का पार्ट हो सकती है. यू मस्ट रीड इट, राइट. देयर इज पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म एज वेल, जो कि ऑब्वियसली मॉडर्न और पोस्ट मॉडर्न लास्ट ईयर भी हमने पढ़ा था. देयर वर सो मेनी क्वेश्चंस. और साइकोलॉजिकल क्रिटिसिज्म के अंदर भी एक्चुअली फ्रॉइड और ह्यूम ये अर्ली साइकोएनालिस्ट है. लाका सेकंड फॉर्म ऑफ साइकोएनालिसिस को डेवलप करते हैं, जो कि बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. मार्क्सिज्म, कार्ल मार्क्स और एंजल से आप स्टार्ट करते हैं, फिर लुका आते हैं, अल्थ्यूजर आते हैं, रेमंड विलियम्स आते हैं, फ्रेडरिक जैम्सन आते हैं. कई सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं जो वो कॉइन करते हैं. देयर इज अ स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म, पोस्ट स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म जो आपके सिलेबस का पार्ट है. शैशो पढ़ते हैं, लुईस स्ट्रॉस पढ़ते हैं, बाथ पढ़ते हैं, डेरिडा पढ़ते हैं, फूको पढ़ते हैं. तो इन सबको सेपरेटली पढ़ना पड़ेगा. क्या इनके आइडियाज हैं, कौन से टर्म्स है जो उन्होंने कॉइन किए हैं, हाउ यू, एंड विद द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ लिटरेचर. ऑब्वियसली यू आर अ लिटरेचर स्टूडेंट, so you'll not understand what is Lang, Perol, what is the idea of Trace, what is the idea of aporia, panopticanism. They may sound foreign to you, right? Or hegemony. Hegemony is a literal term, but contrapuntal reading, for example, the idea of identity politics, mirror stage. These are certain terms that are coined by different theorists. Now you need literary examples as well to support the arguments. So try to read about these terms as first. What you can do, you can read any literary theory text, be it P.K. Nayer's literary theory text or beginning theory. Beginning theory is a very good theory actually, text as actually, and you can read it to know the theoretical idea. And you'll not find any book where these terms are separately explained and then with the literary examples. But in our classroom setup, we are going to do that. When we'll be studying literary theory, we'll read every theoretical framework, sociological study if there is any, right? Jैसे feminism as a movement we'll be reading, then we'll discuss feminist literary movement in our classes, and then we'll go to each individual theorist, we'll read about their text as well as the terms that they have coined with literary examples. This is something that we are doing in our paid courses. If you're interested, you can join the class. I hope you have enjoyed this video. There are a lot of things that I can explain to you, but because there's a limitation of time, I'm not expanding these ideas here. I'll be taking a YouTube live session in some time, and there I will be explaining individually these units. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much.